Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about Stranger Things in context of Dungeons and Dragons. We're talking about season 1, episode 2, and it is the Weirdo on Maple Street is the title of the episode. And today we're going to talk about Officer Calvin Powell. All right, so let's get into this. So, who is Officer Calvin Powell? So, Officer Calvin Powell is specifically the officer that is in charge in Stranger Things in Hawkins, and he is one of the two. I actually think I know the title is officer, but essentially they're his deputies, right? And so Officer Calvin Powell is the senior officer. It's clear that he's been there a longer time and he has more skill than his counterpart, right? Who is Phil Callahan. So Officer Calvin Powell, there is an interesting distinctor on him, and that is that he is an officer he's a police officer in the Hawkins Police Department in the early 80s, in 1983, right? And the whole thing starts on November 6, 1983. And he is an African American, so he's a person of color. Now, why is this important? Well, first of all, from a Dungeons and Dragons perspective, I think the Duffer Brothers made sure that the Hawkins Police Department was diverse and progressive to match Gary Gygax's diversiveness and progressiveness right there in the 1983s, right? In the 1983, Gary Gygax was the most progressive person in America. He was telling men that they could be women. Your character does not have to be a man. You're not locked to your gender. This was way before anybody in the LGBTQ was really talking about this at scale, right? He was saying that white and black people play Dungeons and Dragons at equal levels, right? And and are both equally engaged. Is really quite shocking, I think, just to see exactly how all of this, plays out. And I think it's really important that Officer Calvin Powell is here in the story. And why is that? Well, there's a lot of problems with Jim Hopper. What are the problems with Jim Hopper? Well, he abuses pain pills, he drinks a lot, and he coasts in his job. Now this is interesting. He doesn't coast in his job because he's lazy. He coasts in his job because he can. Nothing's happening in Hawkins, right? People are arguing about pumpkins, right? Nothing really happens there, right? So he is doing the best job he can, and it's extremely rare that anything really dangerous or significant happens there, so he's coasting, right? So you have somebody who's abusing pills, drinking a lot, and coasting at their job, right? Jim Hopper, when we see him, he's not a great person, right? But by having Officer Calvin Powell in the organization and having a very strong working relationship with him, right? Actually, both Callahan and Powell are really backing up Jim Hopper. They're like, we're here for you, man. We're going to help you do this job. And they seem to have a very good working relationship. And this is not a small thing. Jim Hopper, despite his problems, has shown respect, kindness, and tolerance to his coworkers, and at the same time kept a strong hand in that he can tell Callahan and Powell what to do, and they do it. They take his direction very seriously. And it tells us also that Jim Hopper is not prejudiced. He's not hateful. He doesn't care what the color of your skin is. He cares what the color of your heart is, and everybody has the same color heart, which is transparent light. Yeah. So and so so at his core, Jim Hopper, by having hired and building a strong working relationship with Officer Calvin Powell, is shown to be a person of tolerance and kindness and harmony, right? And that's important, and I think it's really important that this is established within Stranger Things, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments, and send your traffic. Please consider like subscribing and have a fetch millennium.